2020. In terms of obligations imposed on Zambia by the agreement, you may wish to note that Zambia will be required to pay membership fees on an annual basis to contribute towards the cost of the Africa Risk Capacity Agency, and the annual membership will be set by the Conference of Parties and adopted concurrently with the budget of the ARC agency. In terms of policy considerations, in terms of disadvantages and advantages, you may wish to note that the agreement itself is not at variance with any of our laws or the Constitution of Zambia. There is no anticipatable negative constitutional implications that may arise from ratifying this particular agreement. It is also worth noting that the ratification of agreement will not require amendment or introduction of any new law in Zambia. Further, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee, it is important that we ratify this agreement as Zambia so that we can benefit from the effective financial weather risk tools, as well as access funds to finance the response of weather events. For instance, this year we had a payout of $9.9 million under DMMU, and I think another $3 million under WFP World Food Program, which came. So we received close to $13 million this year, given the drought that we faced. So ultimately this will help improve the food security of our population as well as the livelihoods of our people. So just to sum up, we feel that there is to be a positive impact for us ratifying this agreement. Firstly, at A, to present an opportunity for Zambia and other member states in pooling financial resources to provide timely, objective and cost-efficient contingent financing. It also enables Zambia access the Africa Risk Review software that quantifies and monitors weather-related food security risks in Africa. I think ARC has access to satellite imagery, which will help us to know when certain disasters are triggered through their capacity by belonging to them. Then at C, it also enables us to participate in the Conference of Parties, which is the highest decision-making organ of the ARC, and give us an opportunity to contribute towards its vision as well as the direction of ARC. And it also enables Zambia benefit from capacity building programs such as quantifying weather risk, developing contingency plans and risk financing, as well as management. In terms of reservations to the clauses in the agreement, we don't see any reservation. We don't have any reservations as government to any of the clauses of the agreement. Then at 7, in terms of withdrawal from the agreement, what is required is just to give 30 days notice if we feel that we need to withdraw from the agreement. The committee may also wish to note that the withdrawal will not affect any contractual obligations that are already in force with the ARC at any time we decide to withdraw, or any affiliated entity referred to, which has been referred in Article 11 of the agreement for the establishment of the Africa Risk Capacity Agency. To conclude, Madam Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee, is that the Ministry of Finance and National Planning is in support of ratifying the agreement, and that ratifying the agreement will help our country benefit from the financing for weather risk management tools, as well as have access to funds whenever we have these extreme weather events. Madam Chairperson, I submit.
Thank you so much, honorable members. Follow-up questions. Honorable Simba, did you introduce yourself? You've just come. We are having Ministry of Finance. So introduce yourself, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, team. I'm Musale Simba, Member of Parliament for Rwanisha constituency.
Thank you so much, Honorable Tayango.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. The presentation is good. Now I just wanted to find out as Minister of Finance, because we are seeing that we are in a hurry to sign these treaties, then thereafter we start accumulating this annual subscription. There is one treaty that was signed in 2019 up to now. That nothing has been paid, and it has accumulated to almost about 1.something million euros. So I don't know, what is the hold up? Is it because of the legal framework that is not there for you to fund such such payments that are supposed to be made. So is it something that the ministry can maybe work out and ensure that these issues are corrected, because we may end up signing treaties and accumulate more than 10, 15, 20 million dollars, and yet we've not even implemented or come up with a legal framework that can speak to the same treaties that we are signing. Thank you.
Thanks so much. You may respond.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Of course, I'm not very aware of this particular one, but I think there are various reasons why we have these issues which arise. So subscriptions are budgeted at two levels. One, there are subscriptions that are budgeted by Ministry of Finance and also by respective ministries. Just to give an example, for instance, the UN system, when it comes to UN General Assembly, Ministry of Finance will pay, but specialized organizations of the UN, for instance, World Food Program or Food and Agriculture Organization or UNICEF or World Health Organization, those are picked up by line ministries. At times, so when they are budgeted like that, we always fund them and they're expected to make payments. But of late we've seen, maybe because budgets are much lower for ministries, we've seen a number of them coming to the Ministry of Finance asking us to pay, or they've accumulated some amounts which they haven't paid. But as Ministry of Finance, whatever we budget, normally we do make the payments. Some are subscriptions, somewhere we could have accumulated, and we normally do payment plans where we have to do capital contributions, because there are certain organizations which call on capital, which we basically are a shareholder, and also those we normally do make payments. But with some of them we're lagging behind, and there have been some accumulations. But of late, I think this is something that we've taken keen interest as a ministry in how we actually manage these subscriptions, and I think the Secretary to Treasury has since or is about to issue a circular specifically on how we actually manage these subscriptions to make sure that we catch up. But a good number of them we've since paid and are up to date, at least for those that we pay as Minister of Finance, and we are trying to see how we pay for the rest where we are lagging behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have follow-up questions. Honorable Simbao, then Honorable Mtachal.
PS, I hear you, and I do see your willingness to meet those. But maybe clarify, since 2020, we've been behind in payment, and even the 2020 we didn't finish. We are owing 68,000 euros for SASCO.
Okay, so thank you so much. Sorry, Honorable Simbao. The ministry today is actually responding to only one treaty, which is the African Risk Capacity Agency.
Yes.
But I think in general, it's a concern that the Honorable Member of Parliament is trying to raise. It's just one of the examples, like you heard from Honorable Tayengwa, that we have signed agreements and we have not been able to honor or do our part. So I think he's referring to the treaty on SASCO, Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management. So you can go ahead. I wanted just to bring our witness to speed with what you are talking about, Honorable.
Yes, Chair. It's just in connection with what Honorable Tayano said. The general picture, not necessarily one, but the general picture of it. And I picked out that one just as an example.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think really what Honorable Taengwa raised is really about this. So for instance, this particular body ideally should be paid by the ministry in charge of science, and we expect them to budget. So what we do for us is to really give a budget, and they need to pick up some of this. But we do recognize that there are payments which have really been outstanding, and I think we are trying to see how we can deal with those and how we can deal with the matters going forward, who picks up which bill. So I think of late we've entertained a few which we've paid for, but what we're trying to do is something that is very comprehensive, come up and make all those payments, at least for the arrears. Then going forward, ministries can pick them up. And thank you.
Okay. I think just in addition, I think from the ministry point of view, they also agreed that they do budget, but there's also an issue where you as Ministry of Finance cuts their budgets. So that is where the whole issue is coming from, or that is where we have a gap. They'll budget, but then their budgets are cut, of course due to various reasons. But what would be your general comment on the issue of cutting the budgets, so that we can see that some of these issues are resolved? Yeah, because it's not just on the treaties, but I think generally on most of the budgets, including the budget of the Ministry of Agriculture. Now we are sitting at the issue of farmers not being paid, things like that.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Indeed, yes, I think every year sometimes we are posed with numerous issues, especially this particular year where we had a drought which was declared as an emergency, and suddenly we needed to have a response towards the drought. And I think we came in with a supplementary budget of 41.9 billion kwacha, and part of that included some savings or constraining some of the budgets of some of the line ministries. And perhaps when you constrain that, there are some of these obligations, such as payment of subscriptions, which tend to lag behind. But I think, as I said, I think we are trying to really look at this comprehensively and start seeing how we actually pay. In some areas, like I said, I think some really felt that the Ministry of Finance should take on this, or the line ministry should actually take on this, but we'll see what we can do and how we can dismantle the arrears that we owe, or at least make payment plans towards these obligations so that we catch up. I submit, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Mtacharo, the question.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, PS, for your presentation. PS, the objective of this agreement is, of course, to reduce risk of loss and damage caused by extreme weather conditions, trying to provide the relief to our people. PS, what effective measures are being considered so that in case of these disasters, even a person in the remotest part of Chama will be able to be taken care of once this particular agreement, I think, has been ratified? Then the second question is, 35 members have signed and ratified the same treaty. Then 35 have signed, but so far 16 have signed and ratified the same treaty. And then you are saying the annual fees will be determined by, that is page what? Will be set by the conference of parties and adopted concurrently with the budget of agents. Do you have any idea when this particular, when it will be done? Is it so soon, 2 years or 3 years from now? I thank you.
Thank you so much. In addition, though, it's a little bit different, but my angle is on the issue of planning at the national level, because we have a drought, for example, or we have a calamity, and just that incident changes everything within the country, including the budgets. It changes and it affects everybody else, including the budget. How are we doing? What measures are we putting in place to ensure that we budget for such calamities, so that in future these budgets for other programs and projects are not affected? You can respond to those questions.
All right, thank you very much. I think at some point I'll ask my colleague Ms. Munoni to speak to some of them. Perhaps maybe just to start with the one from the Honorable Chair on the planning. How do we actually plan for such calamities? I think perhaps this is the very fact that we are trying to do to create this resilience, that we should have an insurance payout as and when a calamity is, so that we have minimal, minimal disruption of the budget. Like I said, this year we had a $9.9 million payment, but I think in the same period, if I'm not mistaken, Zimbabwe had a higher payment of over $30 million. So I think they were able to do much more than we could do with $9 million. But again, it depends on the premiums that you pay and the risks that you see, and I think we certainly didn't foresee this risk. So I think your question really is partly on the resilience and how we ensure that when such an event comes, we'll be ready and we don't have to spend too much on the budget. And I think there are quite a number of resilient measures that are being put in place. The other bit is that we have under Head 99 the contingency budget, which is supposed to help us also meet some of these when they come. But I think the scale for this year's drought was so much that the budget couldn't bear it within the reasonable margins that we look at it. So I think going forward, it's something that we can review and see how best to do that. Coming to Honorable Chayota's question, what effective measures have been put in place to ensure that we address... Pardon? Chalo. Honorable Chalo. Okay, Chalo, sorry. So the measures, I think, are many. I think I'll ask my colleague to speak to them. Basically, I think this is an insurance. It's like when you have a car accident. What happens when you have a car? If you are comprehensively insured, what happens? If you have third-party insurance, what happens? So if you have third-party insurance, the third party is compensated. Yourself will not be compensated. But if you have comprehensive insurance, it can be a write-off of a vehicle and you buy another one, or it could be a repair for a vehicle. So there are quite a number of interventions. Normally when we do this insurance, it goes to DMMU, and it's DMMU which has the measures. So depending on the type of calamity, whether it's a drought, there's a food need for relief food, that could be the intervention that they put, or it's a drought and that drought poses different challenges, again they would intervene in that. But if there are specific measures, I'll ask my colleague to speak to them. Maybe you can speak to it, then I'll come.
Thank you so much, PS. So regarding the question relating to how we reach the population in remote areas, so when we are coming up with the ARC policy, we do come up with an implementation plan that has to be adhered to. So this implementation plan is developed in consultation with all levels of the national structure, starting from the country, the provincial, the districts. I think they go all the way to the wards, and it's incorporated in this implementation plan. So this payout comes with very strict rules of ensuring that we actually follow that implementation plan. And this implementation plan, like PS stated, it's implemented through our disaster management and mitigation unit, who have various structures that go all the way to the remote areas. So that's how we reach out to those remote areas. Thank you. And maybe, sorry, PS, if I may add on what the question of the chairperson regarding our preparedness to ensuring that we don't disrupt the budget as much as it was disrupted during this disaster that we had. So we do have even in the various ministries, like even the ministry of almost all the ministries, be it education, health, agriculture, they do have a provision of certain calamities should they strike, but it's the magnitude that then determines the point at which the DMMU comes in. But this magnitude that we experience, even DMMU could not cover the deficit or the financing that was required, and that's why then we needed to realign the budget so that we respond. Even the contingent budget could not still cover. So those are some of the, I would call them the baskets of finances that we have. So currently, as a ministry, we are undertaking some study, which is we're calling it a disaster risk finance diagnostic study. We are working with the World Bank. This study is expected to give us a proper profile of our risks, and then it will also give us an opportunity to have access to the World Bank financing, which could be triggered even within 7 days of such calamities happening. So one of those, they're calling, it's being called the Rapid Response Operation, which depending on the portfolio of the World Bank projects that we have that have been dispersed, they could give us a certain percentage immediately. Within 7 days, we could have access to those finances. So those are some of the things that we are now working on, considering the disaster that we had, to try and cushion such disruption to our national budget. Thank you.
I mean, maybe just to add on what she said on the rapid response option. So the rapid response option, if we have, say, a portfolio of, say, 1.5 billion with the World Bank, all the projects, and they've dispersed, say, 500 million, then disbursed amount, which is 1 billion, we can access within 7 days 10% of the disbursed amount once we have a calamity or a disaster, which we declare according to the law. The other one which we are working on is called the catastrophic drawdown option, or the CAT-DDO. With the CAT-DDO also, we'll be able to receive resources from the World Bank with predetermined, how can I say, measures or responses that as long as they happen, within that, the World Bank will have to give us those resources within a short period of time. Otherwise, to get the normal procedure of getting money from the World Bank is that you have to do a project, and it takes more than 6 months to actually get those funds. But in terms of a catastrophe, you don't have that luxury of time. Coming, I think, to the final question from Honorable Chalo is, having signed those that are, when does this kick in? So actually the agreement kicked in because the threshold had been reached for those that have signed. So there is a conference of parties, and they do meet to create the fees, and including the insurance assessment and so on, which happen. And I think Article 13 rather of the agreement does say what happens in terms of the conference of parties. I thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other question on the treaties? Okay, I see no hand, meaning that we have exhausted. And finally, PS, the other issue is on the issues of CDF funds. CDF funds, Constituency Development Funds, that are sitting in your ministry. I just want to take this opportunity to urge you to please, you should be funding in good time. From the time the funds were withdrawn from the councils, it has been something else. We were doing very well in terms of CDF implementation until the money was withdrawn and taken back to your ministry. So now we are facing a lot of challenges when the council's requests for funds, they are delaying. So as we speak, all the projects are stuck. I don't know what you are going to do, PS, to help us.
The point is noted, and I'll follow up with my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yes, you can speak a little bit more. At least give us time. You know, we are under pressure.
Yeah.
No, I've heard, and I may not give a categorical answer now, but I'll follow up with the colleagues who, in budget, who do the release of some resources. I do know that we did secure some money from the World Bank to try to make some compensations, and I hope those resources have been sent shortly. But yes, we work on it.
Yeah, it is really a challenge. We have projects like road projects in my constituency that should have been worked on before the onset of the rains. So now that the funds are not there, we are stuck. And you know, the communities think that the money is already there. So it's coming back to all of us. We hope that you can resolve it as quickly as possible. We also have projects that are supposed to be roofed. They are supposed to be roofed before rain season. In short, there are also some places where projects are supposed to be done because they get they are not accessible during the rain season. So meaning that all of them will not be done until next year after the rains are done. So we are under a lot of pressure. Yeah, so even FRA issues?
The FRA, that one I think we've funded some, and I know they are making payments right now. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much. We've come to the end of the discussion on that note, on that very sad note. Yeah, so thank you so much for coming. And before we withdraw the minute, do you have anything else to say?
No, I think we just want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to discuss the memorandum, and we hope you can support it and to better the lives of our people.
Thank you so much. The memorandum is supported already. I think we have received the enormous support from all the stakeholders. It's non-controversial, and like you've rightly put, this is the right time for some of these treaties to be signed. You know what is before us, yeah, in terms of climate change, the disasters happening everywhere. So it is already supported. Thank you so much for coming, and we hereby withdraw the immunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Parliament is open to members of the general public who may wish to undertake familiarization tours of Parliament buildings, either in groups or as individuals, or to attend sittings of the House or parliamentary committees. All those wishing to visit Parliament can either write to the Clerk of the National Assembly of Zambia or simply come to Parliament buildings. Upon arrival at Parliament buildings, visitors are required to identify themselves. A passport or national registration card is required for identification purposes. All visitors to parliamentary premises are required to wear smart attire, either office or casual wear. Before gaining access to the galleries, all visitors are oriented and issued with passes by the Security Department at the Media and Visitors Center. Those whom permission is granted to sit in the galleries will be ushered to the appropriate galleries by protocol officers. Furthermore, visitors are not allowed to take with them into the galleries such articles as walking sticks, umbrellas,